Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Books, Scares, and Purrs, and it's that time. Lestat. We are going to be discussing 6 books on Lestat de Lancourt's bookshelf. And in honor of his character, I'm trying to wear something that he would wear. It's just whatever I could find. I don't really have clothes like his where he's just basically just wearing a scarf. So for the readathon, I'm releasing this at the end of December, but it's going to be going on for January and February. So that's 2 months if I could swing it. If I'm reading a bit slow, it goes into like a third month. I will be having sprints like I always do, and it's usually every other Friday. And what else? I'll be having 2 guests, one for each month, which I'll be discussing later on. You could read the exact same books I'm reading for this event, or you could go ahead and pick a book of your choosing from the prompts that I provide. And so I hope you enjoy going on this wild ride of reading with me. All right, so what books are on his shelf? We're going to talk about the prompts first, actually. So here we go. Hopefully you can see this okay. So reading prompts, they're all based on like character arcs, so events that have happened in the character's life or something that's like impacted Lestat. So he's head over heels in love with Louis. So read a book discussing racial dynamics within a relationship. And so the second one is he's a musician. Read a book about a genre of music. The third is his life is featured in a documentary. So read a memoir. Lestat chooses to endure. Read a book with a protagonist that has the odds stacked against them. Lestat has an appetite for destruction. Read a book where dismantling systems is part of the plot. And lastly, he has a contentious relationship with a higher power. Read a book with sacrilegious consequences. I think there's a typo in there, but I'll fix that later. All of these prompts, there are going to be listed separately, like in a post, so that you can always reference it. Also, before I continue, I'm also going to have this available on Storygraph. I'll probably be like a day delayed. It's at holiday time, so I'm still like hopping around to other families, spending time with them. So, but I'm going to try to get that out this weekend. And what am I forgetting? There's something else on the agenda, but I'll wait to talk about that a little bit later. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and discuss what books am I reading. So we have a nice little stack. Oh my goodness, right behind me with Lestat and on Armand peering in the background. All right, so let's choose this one. And it's a little bit smaller, but just so you can see what book I'm going to be reading. All right, so yes, Lestat's head over heels in love with Louis. So read a book that discusses racial dynamics within a relationship. I'm going to be reading Nobody Knows My Name by James Baldwin. As you know, I've been including quite a bit of Baldwin during this whole event, and I'm always trying to find just a new reason to sneak him in there. So on the back it says, Nobody Knows My Name is a collection of illuminating, deeply felt essays on topics ranging from race relations in the United States, including a passionate attack on William Faulkner for his ambivalent views about the segregated South, to the role of the writer in society, with personal accounts of such writers as Richard Wright and Norman Mailer. So I hope you will enjoy this as much as I am. And yeah, so you could just read along with me, or you could just pick a book on your own shelf, or go to the library, or buy a book to fulfill the prompt. And the next one, number 2. Oh, Lestat's a musician. Read a book about a musical genre. You know what? I just realized some of these are going to feel a little bit. Okay, I think it's this one. So I'm going to be reading Black Punk Now, which is edited by James Spooner and Chris L. Terry. It's fiction, nonfiction, and comics. And my favorite author, Hanif Adirki, does make a contribution in here. So I wish I keep telling myself I'm going to tab it so I could show you, but there's just all these different artists that are going to be contributors to talking about punk music. And here's a comic here. And this feels very Lestat. All right. The next prompt is Lestat's life is featured in a documentary. Read a memoir. I will be reading a memoir, but this is also turned into a documentary. I think produced by Questlove, right? So this book is also put out by Questlove's publishing company. Anyway, so it's Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself. So it's by Sly Stone about his life with Ben Greenman. So just pick a memoir. I'm trying to do this as musically as possible because Lestat is a musician, so you could do that as like a bonus prompt, but you don't necessarily need to. But I do look forward to reading about his life. I did see the documentary, but I had the memory of a goldfish, so I'm sure when I read it, I'll still feel like I'm experiencing it for the first time. All right, the next one is Lestat chooses to endure. Read a book with a protagonist that has the odds stacked against them. And I'm going to read The Marigold. This is kind of like a apocalyptic story, and it's by Andrew F. Sullivan. It's fiction. Let me see if it's kind of like a short little synopsis. In a dystopian near future Toronto, the Marigold, a gleaming condo tower, sits a half-empty promise, a stack of scuffed rental suites and undelivered amenities that crumbles around its residents as a mysterious sludge spreads slowly through it, rotting the building from within, while most surrender to the mold. Too worn down to fight its hold on the city, some rise against it, but in Toronto, but is Toronto already too far gone? So I think I'm going to blast through this book just based on the synopsis alone, but we'll see. Alrighty. Okay. Lestat has an appetite for destruction. Read a book where dismantling systems is part of the narrative or the plot. So I'm going to go ahead and read You Dream of Empires by Alvaro Enguirre. I'm pretty sure I'm saying the last name wrong. I'm so sorry. This is kind of like it's based on history, but it's like an alternate history, I guess you could say. And so on the inside it says, one morning in 1519, the conquistador Hernan Cortez enters Tenochtitlan, today's Mexico City. Later that day, he will meet the emperor in a collision of two worlds, two empires, two possible futures. Cortez is accompanied by his captain, his troops, his prized horse, and his two translators. Let me see. And a strategic Nua princess. After nearly bungling their entrance to the city, the Spaniards are greeted at a ceremonial welcome meal by the steely Aztec princess, sister and wife of Montezuma, as they await their meeting with the emperor, who is at a political and spiritual crossroads and relies on hallucinogenics to get by. Cortez and his encounters are ensconced in the labyrinthian palace. Soon one of Cortez's captains, Jasmine Caldera, overwhelmed by the grandeur of the palace, begins to question the ease with which they were welcomed into the city and wondering at the chance of getting out alive, much less conquering the empire. And what if they don't? You Dreamed of Empires brings the story to life and reimagines its destiny. The incomparably original Alvaro sets afire the moment of conquest and turns it into a moment of revolution, a restitutive, fantastical counterattack in a novel so electric and so inventive that it feels like a dream. So I'm hoping I'm going to enjoy this. I did see this kind of make the rounds on Insta, so we'll see how that goes. And lastly, I'll be reading, which I'm excited. This is a reread for me, but it's been a long time, so I'm excited to read it again. All right. Lestat has a contentious relationship with a higher power. So read a book with sacrilegious consequences. You could like reframe that a little bit. I wasn't quite sure how to write it, but just like if like sacrilegious actions take place, I do kind of want the consequence element, but explore that how you will within their narrative. So I'm going to be reading Querido Street Station by Chenna Melville. When this originally came out, it was there's a lot of noise behind this book. It's definitely within the sci-fi genre. And on the inside it says, beneath the towering bleached ribs of a dead ancient beast lies New Crobazon, a squalid city where humans, remaids, and arcane races live in perpetual fear of Parliament and its brutal militia. The air and rivers are thick with factory pollutants and the strange effluent of alchemy, and the ghettos continue a vast mix of workers, artists, spies, junkies, and whores. And New Crobazon, the unsavory deal, is stranger to none, none even to Isaac, a gifted and eccentric scientist with a penchant for crisis theory. So this book, just to tell you a little more, this what's this guy's name again? Yeah, so the scientist is basically the one that, unbeknownst to him, commits this like sacrilegious act, and the kind of story goes from there. I remember when I read it, I was like really taken by the world and like the cultures that were created within this world are very interesting. And even though this is kind of, it seems like a big book. It's like over 600 pages, and usually big books are daunting, but I promise you, this one's a good one, and it will feel like you're reading it kind of quite quickly. So those are all the books that I'm reading. I will kind of show you. I can remove that one. So I'm going to have this as a post. So you're going to get the cover, you're going to get the prompts, you're going to get the books here, so you'll know which ones I'm reading in case you're interested in reading along with me. I'm going to do basically what I did last time, which is, yeah, put it all on Storygraph. If you're interested in buddy reading, I do tend to make buddy reads, but there's not always like much interest. So I don't know how I'm going to do it this year. Maybe if you like leave a comment and let me know which book you'd like to buddy read, I might open that up. And I am going to have two guests, like I said at the beginning. So let me share that. It's one guest per month. My first guest, if I could, here we go, is going to be Courtney from Tangible Reads. So keep a lookout because eventually I'll post ahead of time in case you want to join our live discussion. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be discussing, which book are we going to be discussing? The Marigold. We're going to be discussing the Marigold together. And so I look forward to that. I love her channel. She's very insightful, and also she's really hilarious, by the way. If you've seen her, she has something else that she's kicking off that I thought was like adorable how she put it together. Anyways, we are going to be discussing the Marigold. And who else are we discussing? In February, but we haven't picked a book yet, which is fine because I have plenty of books to read till then. Here we go. I'm going to have Jessie from This Kiwi is going to be on. There's like two books where we haven't really decided which one we're going to discuss yet. So again, we have the time, and then as we get near, I'll try to figure out what books we're going to discuss, because every Wednesday I try to put out the reviews. It's kind of the schedule I put myself on. So if you haven't heard of those channels, I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, feel free to check them out. I'm going to put their information in my description. And I think I have everything covered. I'm trying to make this short and sweet for once. If you have any questions about this readathon, please let me know. I'm also on Instagram. You can also find me in the details. And my handle is exactly the same. Books, Goes, and Purrs on YouTube, and it's also Books, Goes, and Purrs on Instagram. And so I do tend to kind of post kind of like some quick thoughts in the stories of what I'm reading in case you're interested in that. And it's just like a great way to reach me in case you're interested in discussing books through GM, if that's like better for you. All right, everyone. I look forward to digging into this readathon, kicking it off with Lestat. If you are going to read a different book than I'm reading for the prompts, please let me know. I always enjoy what you are really seeing upon reflection of reading a book against the character that we're exploring. And get ready for those 3 questions. We're going to have the same 3 questions that we always do. I might kind of try to make one like a little more nuanced because this is Lestat and he's a musician. Thank you for being here. And just remember that life is chaos. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and read more books. Bye.